it was not possible for him to enjoy the kingdom after killing his own kinsmen. And that point of view was due to his conception of the body, because he was thinking that the body was himself, and the body, the relatives, his brothers, his nephews, his father-in-law or his grandfather, they were expansion of his body, and he was thinking in that way to satisfy his bodily demands. And the whole thing was spoken by the Lord just to change the view, and he agreed to work under the direction of the Lord, and he said, Karisi bachanam tava. Therefore, in this world, the human being is not meant for quarreling like the cats and dogs. They must be intelligent enough to realize the importance of the human life and refuse and to act like ordinary animals. A human being should realize the aim of human life. This direction is given in all the Vedic literature, and the essence is given in the Bhagavad Gita. The Vedic literature is meant for the human being and not for the cats and dogs. The cats and dogs can kill their eatable animals, and for that there is no question of sin or their part. But if a man kills an animal for the satisfaction of his uncontrolled taste, he must be responsible for breaking the laws of nature. And in the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly explained that there are three kinds of activities according to the different modes of nature. The activities of goodness, the activities of passion, the activities of ignorance. Similarly, there are three kinds of eatables also. Eatables in goodness, eatables on passion, eatables on ignorance. They are all clearly described. And if we properly utilize the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, then our whole life will become purified, and ultimately we shall be able to reach the destination. Jadgatyana nivartanti tadhama paramam mama. That information is given in the Bhagavad Gita. That beyond this spiritual material sky, there is another spiritual sky that is called Sanatana sky. In this sky, this covered sky, we find everything temporary. It is manifested. It stays for some time, gives us some byproduct, and then it becomes dwindling and then vanishes. That is the law of this material world. You take this body, you take a fruit or anything, what is created here, it has got its annihilation at the end. So, beyond this temporary world, there is another world for which the information is there. The parastasmatu bhava anya. There is another nature which is eternal, sanatana, which is eternal. And the jiva, jiva is also described as sanatana. Mami mansa jiva bhuta jiva loka sanatana. Sanatana means eternal. And the Lord is also described as Sanatana in the 11th chapter. So, Because we have got intimate relation with the Lord, and we are all qualitatively one. The Sanatana Dham and the Sanatana Supreme Personality and the Sanatana living entities, they are on the same qualitatively plane. Therefore the whole target of Bhagavad Gita is to revive our Sanatana occupation, or Sanatana, that is called Sanatana Dharma, or eternal occupation of the living entity. We are now temporarily engaged in different activities, and all these activities being purified when we give up all these temporary activities, sarva dharman parityajya, and when we take up the activity as desired by the Supreme Lord, that is called our pure life. Therefore, Sanatana Dharma, as mentioned above, that the Supreme Lord is Sanatana, and the transcendental abode, which is beyond the spiritual sky, that is also Sanatana. And the living entities, they are also Sanatana. So association of the Sanatana Supreme Lord, Sanatana living entities in the Sanatana eternal abode is the ultimate aim of human form of life. The Lord is so kind upon the living entities because the living entities have claimed to be all sons of the Supreme Lord. This Lord declares, Sarvajonishu Kaunteya Sambhavanti Murtayoja. Every type of living entity, there are different types of living entities according to their different karma. But the Lord claims that He is the Father of all living entities. And therefore the Lord descends to reclaim all these forgotten conditioned souls back to the Sanatana Dham, the Sanatana sky, so that the Sanatana living entity may again reinstall in a Sanatana position, in eternal association of the Lord. He comes Himself by different incarnations. He sends His confidential servitor as sons or associates or acharyas to reclaim the conditioned souls, and therefore Sanatana Dharma does not mean any sectarian process of religion. It is the eternal function of the eternal living entities in relationship with the eternal Supreme Lord. Now, so far Sanatana Dharma is concerned, it means the eternal occupation. Sripad Ramanujacharya has explained the word Sanatana as the thing which has neither any beginning nor any end. And when we speak of Sanatana Dharma, we must take it for granted on the authority of Sripad Ramanujacharya that it has no beginning nor any end. The word religion is a little different from Sanatana Dharma. Religion conveys the idea of faith. Faith may change. One may have faith in a particular process and he may change the faith afterwards and adopt another faith. But Sanatana Dharma means which cannot be changed. Which cannot be changed. Just like the water and liquidity. Liquidity cannot be changed from water. Heat and fire. Heat cannot be changed from fire. Similarly, the eternal function of the eternal living entity, which is known as Sanatana Dharma, cannot be changed. It is not possible to change. We have to find out what is that eternal function of the eternal living entity. When we speak of Sanatana Dharma, therefore, we must take it for granted on the authority of Sripad Ramanujacharya that it has no beginning nor any end. The thing which has no end, no beginning, must not be any sectarian thing or limited by any boundary. When you hold on the conference on the Sanatana Dharma, people belonging to some of the non-eternal religious faith may wrongly consider it that we are dealing in some sectarian thing, but if we go deep into the matter and take everything in the light of modern science, it will be possible for us to see Sanatana Dharma as the business of all the people of the world, nay, all the living entities of the universe. Non-Sanatana religious faith may have some beginning in the annals of the human society, but there cannot be any history of the Sanatana Dharma because it continues to remain with the history of the living entities. So far, living entities are concerned, we find it from the authority of the Shastras that the living entities have also no birth or death. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that the living entity is never born nor does it ever die. He is eternal, indestructible, and continues to live after the destruction of his temporary material body. With reference to the above concept of Sanatana Dharma, we may try to understand the concept of religion. From the Sanskrit root meaning of the word dharma, it means that which is constantly with the particular object. As we have already mentioned, when you speak of fire, it is concluded at the same time that there is heat and light along with the fire. Without heat and without light, there is no meaning of the word fire. Similarly, we must find out the essential part of a living being which is always companion with him. That part of constant companion of the living being is his eternal quality, and the eternal part of the living being's quality is his eternal religion. When Sanatana Goswami asked Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about the Sarup, we have already discussed about the Sarup of every living being. Sarup, or real constitution of the living being, the Lord replied that the constitutional position of the living being is to render service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But if we analyze this part of the statement of Lord Chaitanya, we can very well see that every living being is constantly engaged in the business of rendering service to another living being. A living being serves another living being in different capacities, and by doing so, the living entity enjoys life. A lower animal serves a human being, a servant serves his master, A serves B master, B serves C master, and C serves D master, and so on. Under these circumstances, we can see that a friend serves another friend, and the mother serves the son, or the wife serves the husband, or husband serves the wife. If we go on searching in that spirit, it will be seen that there is no exception in the society of the living being where we do not find the activity of service. The politician present his manifesto before the public and convince his voters about his service capacity. The voter also gives the politician his valuable vote on expectation that the politician will give service to the society. The shopkeeper serves the customer, and the artisan serves the capitalist. The capitalist serves his family, and the family serves the headman in terms of the eternal capacity of eternal being. In this way, we can see no living being is exempted from the practice of rendering service to other living being, and therefore we can conclude that service is a thing which is the constant companion of the living being, and therefore it may be safely concluded that rendering of service by a living being is the eternal religion of the living being. When a man professes to belong to a particular type of faith with reference to the particular time and circumstances of birth, and thus one claims to be a Hindu, a Muslim, a Christian, Buddhist, or any other sect and a subsect, such designations are non-Sanatana Dharma. A Hindu may change his faith to become a Muslim, or a Muslim may change his faith to become a Hindu or a Christian, etc. But in all circumstances, such change of religious faith does not allow a person to change his eternal engagement of rendering service to others. A Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian, in all circumstances, he is servant of somebody, and thus to profess a particular type of faith is not to be considered as Sanatana Dharma, but the constant companion of the living being, that is rendering of service, is the Sanatana Dharma. So, factually, we are related in the service relationship with the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is the supreme enjoyer, and we, living entities, are eternally His supreme servitors. We are created for His enjoyment. And if we participate in that eternal enjoyment with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that makes us happy, not otherwise. Independently, as I have already explained, that independently, any part of the body, the hand, the feet, the fingers, or any part of the body, independently cannot be happy without cooperation with the stomach. Similarly, the living entity can never be happy without rendering his transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, the worship of different demigods is not approved. It's not approved because it is said in the Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, 20th verse, the Lord says, Kamastasya hitagyanaha prapaddanti annadevataha. Kamastasya hitagyana. Those who are drifted by lust, only they worship the demigods other than the Supreme Lord, Krishna. We also may remember that when you speak of Krishna, it is not a sectarian name. The Krishna name means the highest pleasure. It is confirmed that the Supreme Lord is the reservoir, is the storehouse of all pleasure. We are all hankering after pleasure. Anandamaya abhyasat. The living entities or the Lord, because we are full of consciousness, therefore our consciousness is after happiness. Happiness. The Lord is also perpetually happy. And if we associate with the Lord, cooperate with Him, take part in His association, then also we become happy. The Lord descends on this mortal world to show His pastime in Vrindavan, full of happiness. When Lord Sri Krishna was in Vrindavan, his activities with his cowherd boys' friend, with his damsels, with his damsel friends, and with the inhabitants of Vrindavan, and his occupation of cow herding in his childhood, and all these pastimes of Lord Krishna was full of happiness. The whole of Vrindavan, the whole population of Vrindavan was after him. They did not know except Krishna. Even Lord Krishna restricted his father Nanda Maharaj in worshipping the demigod Indra, because he wanted to establish that people need not worship any other demigod except the Supreme Personality of God. Because the ultimate aim of life is to return to the abode of the Supreme Lord. The abode of Lord Krishna is described in the Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, 6th verse. Natad bhasayati surya na sasanka na pavakaha jadgatya na nivartanti tadhyamam paramam mama. Now, the description of that eternal sky, when we speak of sky, because we have material conception of the sky, therefore we think of the sky with sun, moon, stars like that. But the Lord says that the eternal sky, there is no need of sun. Natad bhasayati surya, no sasanka, no pavaka. Neither in that eternal sky there is need of moon, no pavaka, means neither there is necessity of electricity or fire for illuminating, because the spiritual sky is already illuminated by the Brahma Jyoti, Yasa Prabha, the rays of the Supreme abode. Now in these days, when people are trying to reach other planets, it is not very difficult to understand the abode of the Supreme Lord. The abode of the Supreme Lord is in the spiritual sky, and it is named as Golaka. In the Brahma Samhita, it is very nicely described. Golaka eva nivasati akhila atma bhuta. The Lord, although resides eternally in his abode, Golaka, still he is akhila atma bhuta. He can be approached from here also. And the Lord therefore comes to manifest his real form, Satchidananda Vigraha, so that we may not have to imagine. There is no question of imagination. The Lord's presence, by his causeless mercy, he presents himself in his Shyama Sundar. Unfortunately, people with less intelligence deride at him avajananti mang mudha.